Hey folks, Adam Bryant here with the Lower Reward video series. This conversation is one of those topics where I didn't exactly know where in the cookbook I was going to put it. And since the cookbook is going to become a video series first, I figured we're just going to slip it into the reward category, although originally it was in the xenophobe chapter. The conversation today is going to be about how to reduce your reward in one area by substituting it with reward in another area that is hopefully slightly lower. And this can be done in almost any area where you're finding yourself excessively distracted by a neuroengineered consumer activity, behavior, or mindset. For today's conversation, and the one that I would like to have with any of you down below in the comments, we're going to focus on one of the neuroengineered consumer activities that drives the most people mad, and yet we can't reduce our reliance on the distraction. And that is social media. But it also fits into other online activities. Social media apps being probably the one that we reach to fastest. And a lot of times, when I talk with people about what is the highest reward part of online banter, it isn't photos on Instagram, and it isn't useless debates against people in the comments, and it isn't about challenging yourself to turn it off entirely. It is more often than not going to be about notifications. And in each and every case where I've helped a self-proclaimed, self-professed social media consumer addict reduce their reliance on social media, it didn't come from any change in their behaviors except one: dealing with notifications. I've tried all sorts of ways to get people to reduce their reliance on social media. I've asked them to uninstall their apps, and I've asked them to try using the mobile browser instead, and I've asked them to try and use Wi-Fi only and never cellular. A lot of phones let you disable what apps work on cellular, and I said only when you're on Wi-Fi try them. Those things didn't work. I said let's try and only do social media as a success, and it didn't work. But the one area that did work was notifications. Muting notifications. I use currently an iPhone, which was provided to me for a period of 1 year by one of my supporters, one of my, I guess you would call them fans, although I think I rely more on them than they rely on me as a distraction. And but I'm not committed to Apple. I'm fine with Android or any of the other ones. I've had Microsoft phone and pretty much every other smartphone brand and operating system. And on all of them, I was able to figure out how to set it up for which applications had notifications, what kind of notifications, and which ones didn't, weren't allowed to have notifications at all. So if you're not familiar on how to adjust notifications, comment below with what brand phone you have, an operating system and version of operating system. And I'm sure someone else who's much better at technology than I am will be able to help you out. The reward of notifications is easily one of the most insidious neuroengineered consumer behaviors that I've ever researched, that I've ever come across. There's a lot of research articles, peer-reviewed and otherwise, on the internet. I don't only read the NIH studies that are published. I also read various quack doctors and conspiracy theorists on blogs, because I like to get more than just the mal-educated left's view on these topics. When we acclimate ourselves to conversation, historically, humans who were generally equal would give each other some semblance of listening time and response time as well. And we would have conversations in, say, real life, eventually over the phone, where we couldn't see body language, which really was the first big fall in terms of communication. Was that when humans could interact face-to-face, even speaker to audience, we were able to see the body language of the speaker, and the speaker was able to see the body language of the audience. And even if the speaker was scripted, they were able to conduct a conversation where they could modify it in order to keep the audience's attention. And the audience was able to see if the speaker looked uncomfortable or was lacking confidence. And then we moved to the telephone, where kind of numbed the human response because we couldn't see each other. We didn't have time to react to the other's reactions. Often, in human conversation, in person, the notification is the fact that they're responding. You would think, I'm talking to you, and when I'm taking a moment to wait for your response, you notify me by responding. But we also had other responses, such as, hey, let me butt in here for a moment. Raise your hand in class. We don't get those human responses. Sometimes you knew it was time to let someone speak because of a physical response that was subconscious. I always think of a breakup with someone I still greatly love and admire today, and before I even started the conversation, my body language must have been telling her that something was happening, and she started crying. It was a notification. These human notifications are inherent and displayed in us. And when I started my research on this topic, probably 12 years ago, I would say, well, I should actually say the date, 2008 or so, maybe 2007, I actually researched the animal kingdom. I researched how birds would notify each other about their display of pecking order, and how same species equivalents wouldn't fight it out, but same species differences in pecking order did indeed fight it out. And then I looked at birds of different species and how sometimes they would work together and other times they would work apart. But in each of these situations, they had notifications. And the notification between communicating creatures, humans included, was always a statement of, I'm going to give you a response to your response to me. Very rarely was the notification immediately one of threatening or of anger or of surprise or shock. You saw them coming. You knew their pecking order well ahead of time, typically, and you started whatever the conversation was. It's true, not just in talking about the weather, but in sexual selection strategy. So here we are, as humans, as animals, having our conversations and our notifications that we're going to respond, and then we blunt it with technology, with the audio telephone, or the one unidirectional system of the television or radio, where you can't always see the performer's true physical response, and they definitely can't see yours. Social media is a medium. It isn't always a performance. It's just a distribution medium that takes consumer media of any kind, even your post about a meme, and throws it out to the world. When someone responds to your production, whether it's sharing a meme or posting your kids or posting a recipe or even just posting an opinion, when someone responds to your media post, a notification is created. Sometimes a notification is created when a post comes up of somebody that you specifically follow and say, I want early notifications of their post. But that's pretty rare. Usually you have to go to, for example, a news feed or a homepage of a social media app to see recent posts by people or popular posts by people. But once you start engaging them or elect to receive notifications otherwise, you get the notification. That notification in most applications will happen in like a header bar in a menu. Maybe a little icon will pop up. Possibly there'll be a number of notifications that you haven't viewed yet. You click it and it'll show you a list of those notifications. You'll see quickly at a glance who's responded to something you said. And you can look at those really quickly and weed out really fast who it is you want to talk to. And I think the precursor of this system, before even email, was the bulletin board. When I was a kid, we had community bulletin boards at the laundry, when you walked into the grocery store, at some diners. People would put up a little piece of information and you could pin your business card to it or jot your phone number down from it, and that was a very slow notification. Eventually they would have the little tear-offs at the bottom with your phone number on it, but before even that, it was just, jot your response on there. And if you posted on the community bulletin board, you would have to go and see, did anyone actually respond to my request to starting a band? Which is how I actually joined a band when I was a little kid. Someone posted about it. I went and I wrote my parents' phone number down on it. And then maybe 3 weeks later, they called me back because they weren't going every day to check. But now, with social media, the notification is near instant. In some cases, you don't even have to refresh the page to see new notifications. And when we think about reward, when we think about the values of reward, it's very easy to see how high reward a notification is. To receive notifications requires no time investment, no financial risk, they're free, no chance of failure. Have you ever seen a notification that says, hey, nobody's responded to you? The only time you see that is when they want to sell you the ability to update your post to an ad. But other than that, there's no risk of failure. If you make a post and nobody interacts with it, hey, post a titillating semi-nude photo. They'll react to that. Very easy. And even if a couple of people respond to it, the reward element is there. There's your notification. Back in the good old days of social media, the only notifications we really had were comment responses. And comment response conversations on a social media platform really goes back to the beginning of email. Email was a post, usually to one person, sometimes to a group, and your email application would show you notifications in the form of replies. And they always are sorted by the newest emails, never by the oldest. Isn't that a curiosity? When your inbox gets full, we don't look at, from email, we don't look at the oldest emails that we probably should have deleted or archived or responded to. We always look at the newest emails. Pretty ridiculous, but the same is true with social media notifications. As we move through this topic, this 2-week self-study, which I hope you're going to want to be part of, we're going to get into why notifications are so nefarious and are so indoctrinating and are so reward enabling and are so addicting and are so feel good, even if it's not from people you like. Please leave a comment below if you'd like to hear more about social media notifications from a reward perspective, and I'll get into a 2-week self-study as time progresses. Appreciate you listening. I'm Adam Brian Dada, and this is the Lower Reward video series.